Hello and thanks for joining me. This is our final little project for our July 2020 art retreat, all about secret journaling. And today I am going to make the tag. At the end of all of our retreats, we make a tag that sort of brings in some of the techniques that we've learned, or ideas, or general feeling. This is the tag from our last retreat that was all about shakers. Now, this retreat, secret journaling, I am going to create a tag that is about secret journaling. What can I say? Now, normally I would work on the front of the tag first, and when it's finished, turn it around and go, oh no, the back, and create the back as an afterthought. But today, excuse the cockatoos in the background. Today, I know that the front of the tag is going to be quite dimensional, and so I am going to work on the back first, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to do something flat on the back when I've got this lumpiness. And I'm just doing a very, very simple back of the tag today. I'm just going to stick a piece of rice paper over the top. Now, I have this paper from Ciao Bella. The collection is called The Muse, and I thought this was so perfect. So what I'm going to do, I have my tag, I've cut it out to be exactly the same size as last month. I'm not necessarily going to make them all the same size, but for today, I think I will. And I've cut it out of very thick card slash thin chipboard. That was just the card at the back of a sketchbook. And I have given it a couple of layers of white gesso, simply because it is that grey colour, and I did not want the grey to come through and ruin the colours of the rice paper. So I've got a white background to work on. And what I'm going to do is, because the image is slightly larger than my tag, I want to use the best parts. So I'm actually, you can't see, but I have a desk lamp on behind me, so I can see the light through the tag, or through the paper rather, and I am just lining up my tag to a place that optimizes the design. So that will be nice. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to draw a rough line around here, and I'm just going to cut it out. Normally I use a water brush and I tear the rice paper, but because I want it to be as big as the tag, I'm actually cutting it a little bit larger. I will then stick it onto the tag, and then once it's dry, then I may or may not, I'll either cut it with scissors to fit the size of the tag, or I'll use the water brush and give it that raggedy edge around the edge of the tag. I'm not quite sure yet. As you know, I make things up as I go along. So I have got my clear gesso and a really big brush, and I'm just going to quickly paint a coat of clear gesso over the tag. I have not put anything underneath, so I'm going to make a mess of the glass mat, but that's okay. It cleans very easily. And I'm lining up my picture over the tag. Squishing out any air bubbles. And then I'll just give it another layer of the gesso over the top. This is very quick and simple. And I think it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful back to the tag. And very perfect. She's writing all her secret journaling in her journals and her special books. I have a book just like that. Okay, now I'm going to just, I'll take it off here so it doesn't stick to the mat, and I will let that dry. Right, so gesso is dry, and I am going to just cut the excess paper away from the tag. I've decided I'm just going to cut it neatly with scissors and not do the wet brush tearing thing, because that will just be a little bit strange over the edge of the tag, I think. So quickly cutting that out. I will neaten it up a little bit later. Right, so there's the back of the tag. Perfect. And I'm not going to do very much to that other than perhaps ink the edges later when the whole tag is complete. So going to the front. Now what I'm going to do, or what I'm planning to do, but you know, you know me, things change as I go. I am going to create a tag within a tag. So I'm going to have this tag with some sort of pocket on the front and a tag that fits inside that pocket. And the tag that fits inside the pocket is the tag that will hold the secret journaling. How much actual secret journaling I do on this, it won't be too secret, because these tags are something that just sit around on my desk and people pick them up and look at them. So if I do any actual secret journaling, it will be sealed or something. Who knows? We'll find out. Now I'm trying to go for a bit of a vintage shabby look, and vintage is not my thing, so I'm stepping out of my box today. But I think that's one of the purposes of these tags at the end of the retreat. It's to bring everything together, use up some of the new techniques you might have learned. And by you, I also include myself, because a lot of the things I do during these retreats are things I've never done before. I just think, let's do such and such. Oh dear, I better learn how to use it. So it's for me as well, putting together some of the things that we've learned. And I can't remember where I was going with that now. Oh, stepping out of our comfort zones, stepping out of your box, doing something you might not normally have done. So I've pulled out this paper pad by Kaiser Craft, which is called Scrap Studio. And in here somewhere, from memory, yes, there is a page that has script on it. Secret journaling script, because I can't read it. And I don't know if you can tell, but the script itself is actually glossy embossed. So it's kind of pretty. And I know the paper is not big enough for my tag, but that's not a problem, because like I said, there's going to be a pocket on the front. So if I don't cover all the way to the bottom, it doesn't matter. We won't see it. So I am just making sure it's upright, even though it's not really legible. There is still an up and a down. And I am going to trace my tag onto the paper. And I will then cut it out and glue it onto the front of the tag. So this is dry. What I actually ended up doing was cutting a strip of the leftover paper and covering the bottom. I know I said it doesn't matter, we won't see it, but I just thought, from the point of view of the side of the tag, I want it to be even, so I've covered the bottom as well. Now what I could do is get my craft knife and cut the overlapping paper beautifully and straight so that it is exactly the same size and shape as the tag. But I'm not doing that today. Instead, I'm going to use my sanding block, and I'm going to sand the edges all the way around until the paper is the same size as the tag. That way I end up with a bit of a rough, scrunchy, shabby kind of look. Now I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to go and do that outside so I don't end up with paper dust all over my desk. So I've sanded the sides of the paper and given it that shabby kind of look. Now I'm going to distress it a little bit more. I have my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink pad, and I'm just going to go around and ink up all the sides of the tag. And I know we won't see the bottom, but I'm just doing it for consistency. And also because by doing this size like this, I am also inking that little side edge of the tag that you see. when you hold it sideways, because I don't want that to be the boring grey of the chipboard that I used. And that gives it a bit more of an aged, distressed look, which we're going for today with our kind of vintage, shabby, something, something secret journaling tag within a tag. Right, now what I'm going to do is I want to create a sort of a pocket on the front of the tag that the other tag can sit into. And I have this high tea collection from Kaiser Craft. I promise this video is not an advertisement for Kaiser Craft. It seems to be so far. Now this is quite an old collection. It's a few years old now, and I have some bits and pieces in my stash. And I kind of like this sheet here. It's the ripped wallpaper, different designs kind of look. And I think that might be rather pretty as my tag pocket. Sorry, I'm just kind of planning. I think I'm going to use this side. So first of all, I will measure it to the size of the tag. And then I don't want it to be just a straight line across. I'm going to actually rip it. Perfect. Okay, now that's what I want. And while I have the ink out, I will distress those edges. And before I actually stick it on, I want to add some interesting bits to the top. Now this might get a little bit silly, and I don't know if I'm being clever or stupid, because it's going to make it incredibly three-dimensional in the end, and it is going onto a ring with my other tags, but that's okay. You can always go up to the front if it's too thick. Now I'm going to grab, I have this sort of Hessian ribbon, not quite sure what it's called, and I am going to cut myself a little piece about so big. There's a sort of plan. I kind of saw something similar to this on Pinterest on a project, just this little ribbony bit here, which I quite liked, and I thought, oh, I might do something similar to that. And I'm going to cut a little piece of this lace ribbon. And then what I'm going to do, now see, I'm making this up as I go along, really, so there might be some little moments of, no, I've changed my mind. Yeah, I quite like the lace bigger than, I like the lace bigger than the Hessian. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my sewing machine to sew those, and I might also, while I'm at it, just do some sewing around this piece of paper, just for embellishing. So here is the sewn on little bits. So I've sewn them down with my sewing machine, and I've also gone around these three sides. I then covered the stitching on the back with some washi tape, simply because I'm thinking if I have a tag on the inside that's going to be coming in and out, I did not want it, either the tag getting damaged by the rough bits of stitching, or worse still, the tag undoing the stitching or causing some sort of disaster. So I've done that. just to smooth it down. You could actually cut a piece of paper the same size and glue that down. I was lazy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some glue along these three sides. I'm using the Art Glitter brand glue once again, because I know that this will stick forever and ever. And I'm just running a thin line along each of those sides. Don't use double-sided tape for this particular job, because otherwise when you put your tag in and out, sometimes the bottom or the edges will get stuck on the side of your tape if it hasn't stuck down properly, which it never does really. So wet glue is my go-to. It usually is anyway. But okay, and then I'll just put that aside to dry while I get some other stuff done and I will come back. Now that the glue is dry, I am going to just shabby this up a little bit by doing my finger painting gesso thing. So I'm just rubbing a little bit of white gesso here, there and everywhere. I'm being careful not to, whoops, not to glue the top layer down to the bottom tag. And I know the design of the paper already has this sort of look, but I'm just adding to it. And especially over this hessian here. Great. So while this is drying, I've cut out from that same high tea collection, I've cut out a smaller tag out of a coordinating but plain piece of paper that will fit inside the pocket. And I have cut out a piece of the leftover rice paper that is kind of along the sides the same size and shape as the tag, but does not cover all of it. And I don't want that straight line here, so I'm going to use my water brush, and of course you could just use a paintbrush and a jar of water, but because I have this, and I'm just going to paint a line of water down the edge. You need a fair bit more on rice paper than you would on serviettes or napkins, because the rice paper is quite thick. And then once it's nice and wet, as I rip it away, it very quickly and easily gives you that nice ripped look. Perfect. And I'm just going to once again use the clear gesso to stick that onto the side of my tag. Now once this is dry, I am going to do just a little bit of painting over it. Not very much, because it's kind of pretty on its own. So just to bring it all together a little bit, I'm just adding a little bit more colour, and a little bit more pinkness. And that's enough for me. And then I am just going to do a little bit of spattering on it, and I'm using the Ground Espresso Distress Paint because I want a dark brown spatter today, and it's already quite liquidy. Whoops, and too much always comes out. But I'm still going to add some more water. There we go. Now once that paint is dry, I have these amazing faux postage stamps that were made for me by a friend, and I'm going to use some of them on my tag here. And I don't think they will get in the way when this pops in here. No, I think that will be fine. I'm going to stick those two down for starters. And then I have cut out from this leftover bits and pieces of my Kaiser Craft pen and ink paper. It has all these postmarks on it, so I've cut one of them out. I quite like this one because it actually says Sydney, New South Wales on it. So I thought, how appropriate. And I'm just distressing the edges with the blade of my scissors. And I might actually grab the distress ink, and I'm not even bothering with the holder, just grabbing the foam with my fingers, and I'm just giving that a little bit of an ink around the edge. I think that's kind of cute. And I'm not going over the top with the embellishments on this one, keeping it pretty simple. The back of it I'm leaving blank because I might get some journaling on there. I have now grabbed a little offcut of fabric, and there's a story behind that. Like everything I do, everything has a secret meaning, and this fabric has a secret meaning. And I've tied a very loose bow in it. And what I'm going to do is poke a hole at the halfway point it took me a while to do the measuring thing. Poke a hole here to make my life a little bit easier. And I have this vintagey looking brad, which I am going to attempt to shove through the fabric here. I don't know if that's going to work. It's a very thin fabric, so I should be able to do it. Excellent. So I've just shoved it through there and poking it through the hole. Fabulous. So I have this shabby kind of vintage looking ribbon which is fraying around the sides, which is what I want. And I'm just going to cut this one a little bit shorter. Right, and what I might do is on the back here just put a little bit of washi just to cover the brad backing so it doesn't scratch the other tag when it's coming in and out. So if I just cover that like that. And so this just pops in here. Marvellous. Oh, one more thing. I have another one of these keys from my Graphic 45 Staples set, and I am going to pop it in the pocket there. I may or may not glue it down depending on whether it behaves or if it keeps popping out. I might at some point find something else to put into this little pocket. Maybe, maybe not. And one other thing I need is for my son tomorrow to poke a hole in this for me so I can thread it on the ring with the other one, because I know that I can't, I have a handheld punchy thing and I know that it's a little bit too hard for me to do, so my son will do that for me tomorrow. Otherwise, all done. Leaving the back just as it is like this. I don't think it needs anything else. And that is the front. A little pocket. Tag comes out for journaling. What I might do, if I do end up doing something along the lines of my secret journaling for this tag, because it's a tag that's out and about and people can see it because it's usually sitting on my desk or hanging on the wall, then what I might do is I might grab one of my journaling cards, maybe one of the ones that we have made or are going to make during our Facebook Live, write on one side and then washi tape it down top and bottom so that I do have secret journaling on the tag, but it's not accessible. And I think that might be a good idea, actually. Not using this card, I'll find something prettier and something that matches the theme. And if I do that, I will show pictures in our group God's Refrigerator and on my profile Georgia iDreams. But all my social links are down below. So come on over and join me, say hi. And if you like this video and you like the idea of a tag within a tag for your secret journaling or for your whatever, anything, number one, make one and then come over to one of my channels and show me and say, look what I've made. I'd love to see. And if you've enjoyed this video, you know, do the thing, do the thumbs up, do the like, do the subscribe, all that sort of thing. And thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day. Bye. One more final thing, then I will definitely finish. I just thought that the journaling tag needed one more little thing. So I pulled out my art supply Bible and ripped out what has been my focus verse for this whole retreat, Daniel 2:22. And I then, I'll bring that up a bit closer for you. I then inked it a little bit with tea dye distress ink and distressed the edges with the ink, clear gessoed it onto the tag, and I think that's better. It needed something else, I thought, and I also needed to do something to it to actually link it to this retreat. Otherwise, it was just a tag, right? And I also wrote the name of the July retreat along the bottom and around the edge. And I never finish. I can't stop. And I found this little journaling card here that has just a grid on the back, and I've washi taped it to the top, put a little bit of extra washi tape on the bottom to hold it down. So at some point I will do a little bit of journaling on that. I'm not quite sure what it will be for. It won't be too secret because again, this tag gets looked at. But I'll do some sort of journaling on the back and the washi tape will hold it closed. So in pops the tag, and I can now hang it onto the jump ring that is holding last month's tag. And my little tag album is getting fuller. 2 tags, done. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Bye.